Y'all, I have to take a moment and talk about the coolest thing that's happened to me as an EGOT expert, awards historian of showbiz and politics. I got name dropped in Variety, specifically by Clayton Davis, the chief awards editor of Variety. As a historian of showbiz, Variety is the paper of record for much of my research. One of my prized possessions is this really old encyclopedia, I would say, of like the first however many years of Variety's inception. Like, obviously you can see it's been loved. So yes, something really, really nerdy, but I'm a nerd. So I think it's cool. Thank you, Clayton. Thank you, Variety. So, with that said, let's take a look at what's the difference between an EGOT, a studio EGOT, and a franchise EGOT. And full disclaimer, I cannot preface this enough. This is going to be a very inside baseball episode, so feel free to take a break or fast forward or do whatever you need to get the information that's in this episode. It might be a little dense, so I get it. So first, an EGOT, in the classic sense, is reserved for anyone that is the recipient of all four of the peer-judged Showbiz Awards: the Emmy for television, the Grammy for recorded music, the Oscar for theatrically released movies, and the Tony for Broadway. And though actor Philip Michael Thomas correctly gets credited as the one who coined the term EGOT, according to my research, we actually have Rita Moreno and Guinness to thank for grouping these four awards together. From what I've found, after winning all four awards in the late 1970s, Moreno very openly started wondering if that was some sort of record. And I'm not sure if she went to Guinness or if Guinness went to her, but at some point they were publishing her in their annual Book of World Records as the only person to have won all four awards. And then later someone realized she was actually the third or fourth, depending on if you count Barbra Streisand as an EGOT. I do, other people don't, but that's a whole other video. Now, a studio EGOT is a term I coined for a company that has produced work that has won all four of the EGOT awards. The main difference between an EGOT and studio EGOT, at least one way I would characterize it, is you're an EGOT if you have won all four awards, and you're a studio EGOT if the people working for you have won all four awards. So with the Tony wins for Schmigadoon, Apple does become a studio EGOT, but not an EGOT, though it as a nominee, winner, or honoree does have an honorary Grammy, various Emmys, and now a Tony. Apple's Oscar awards all went to the individual movie makers and not to Apple or any of its subsidiaries. Now, a company that might actually be both an EGOT and studio EGOT is Universal Pictures. That company's first Oscar for Best Picture was All Quiet on the Western Front at the third Academy Awards, when that Oscar was awarded to the studio and not the individual producers of the winning movie. It's Universal's Grammy and Emmy histories that I have to dig a little deeper into to really make that call. Warner Brothers is probably both an EGOT and a studio EGOT, but you can take a look at the Warner Brothers video in my grid to get a little bit more insight on that. Now, a franchise EGOT is an unofficial term that's been thrown around by us EGOT trackers for a while now. A franchise EGOT is when one IP in its various treatments or parts gets recognized with wins at all four of the EGOT awards. Disney probably has more franchise EGOTs than anyone else. Just off the top of my head, I know different versions of Aladdin and The Lion King have won awards at all four EGOT awards. But also a franchise EGOT is where things kind of get messy, because with source material and spin-offs of spin-offs, it does kind of get messy deciding what is really part of a franchise. Take The Lion King, for example. Various of its characters have had spin-offs and new stories created around them. But The Lion King is also somewhat an adaptation of Hamlet. And I'm not sure if I'd put The Lion King and Shakespeare in the same franchise, but maybe others would. And Shakespeare and the various treatments of his work also sort of complicate the idea of what franchise really means. Like, do you consider the West Side Story in the same franchise as Romeo and Juliet? But look, if you get nothing else from this video, it's that all this is supposed to be fun. None of this is real. All of this is make-believe. No one gets another trophy for winning all four of the awards. Getting recognized by the awards is the award. And if you don't take this too seriously, then you can have fun keeping track of all these stats. And that's really what all this is. It's a bunch of stats and a bunch of numbers. Sports have it and now showbiz does. And if you don't take it too seriously, you can have fun keeping track of who's getting one step closer to reaching EGOT, the grand slam of American showbiz and beyond. I'm your host, historian of showbiz and politics, and the EGOT expert, Freddy Mancilla. Thanks for watching.